When I decided to become a beekeeper, I discovered something surprising. The expensive part isn't the honey, it's getting started. By the time I'd bought 2 hives, protective clothing, a smoker, hive tools, feeders, the bees themselves, and completed a beginner's beekeeping course, I'd spent more money than I admitted to anyone. I loved every minute of it. Saturday mornings became hive inspections. I joined the local beekeeping club, started planting more bee-friendly flowers, read books in the evenings about queen genetics, nectar flows, and swarm prevention. I wasn't trying to become a commercial beekeeper. I just thought bees were fascinating. Before I even ordered my first colony, I checked all the local council rules, measured my backyard, worked out the prevailing wind, installed a fence so the bees would fly upwards as they left the hive instead of straight across into neighboring gardens. I wanted to be the kind of beekeeper nobody noticed. For about 3 weeks, I succeeded. Then my neighbor knocked on my door. Linda didn't bother saying hello. "It's your bees?" "My bees?" I asked, confused. "They're ruining my roses." I blinked. How? "They're eating them," she said sharply. I honestly thought she was joking. She wasn't. "They're all over my flowers." "Yes," I said carefully. "They're taking the pollen." "Well, they're stealing it." I smiled politely. "They're pollinating them," I calmly tried to explain. She folded her arms. "Same thing." It wasn't, not even close, and I explained as gently as I could that honeybees collect nectar and pollen. They don't chew leaves. They don't eat rose bushes. In fact, they help flowering plants reproduce. Linda looked unconvinced. "I've never had this problem before your bees arrived." Over the next few weeks, her complaints became more creative. "My dahlias are looking worse. The leaves have holes. My roses are dying. Your bees are stripping everything." Each time I'd look over the fence, each time I'd see bees calmly visiting flowers, exactly as bees have done for millions of years. Nothing looked unusual. Except the leaves really were looking worse. I started wondering if something else was happening. Linda wouldn't let me look closely. She'd already decided she'd found the culprit. One Saturday, she announced she'd contacted the council. "They'll make you move the hives," she warned. I wasn't worried. Everything I'd done was well within the rules. The inspector visited a week later. He looked at the hives, looked at the fencing, watched the flight path, asked a few questions, and then smiled. "You've done everything properly." Linda wasn't happy. About a month later, her niece came to stay. Her name was Rebecca. She was a professional gardener. I met her when she wandered over while I was inspecting the hives. "I have heard a lot about your dangerous bees," she said, grinning. I laughed. "So have I." She looked toward Linda's roses. "I'm going to have a closer look later," she said. "Mind if I join?" I asked. "Please do." She smiled. That evening, Rebecca knocked on my door. "Bring a torch." We walked next door. Linda followed us, still convinced she was about to prove her point. Rebecca shone her torch underneath one of the rose leaves. There! Tiny green caterpillar-like larvae clung to the underside. And then another leaf, and another. Within minutes, we'd found dozens. Linda frowned. "What are those?" "Rose sawfly larvae," Rebecca said. "They've been eating your leaves." She picked up another damaged stem. "See how the leaves are skeletonized?" Linda nodded slowly. "They're not bees," she said slowly. "They've never been bees." Rebecca smiled kindly. "Honeybees don't eat leaves." For the first time in months, Linda looked embarrassed. Over the next week, Rebecca helped treat the infestation. Nothing dramatic, just proper pruning, hand removal, and a few targeted controls. Within weeks, fresh growth appeared. A month later, the roses were flowering better than I'd ever seen. Not despite the bees, partly because of them. The blooms seemed fuller. The vegetable patch exploded with tomatoes, zucchini, and beans. Rebecca laughed one afternoon. "Turns out pollination actually works." Linda rolled her eyes. I know. Late that summer, there was another knock on my door. This time, Linda was holding a basket. Inside were fresh tomatoes and a loaf of homemade bread. "I owe you an apology," she admitted. "I was pretty sure your bees were eating my garden." I smiled. "I know." She hesitated. "I've been reading about bees." That surprised me. "They're actually kind of incredible," she said with a wry smile. "They really are." She looked toward the hives. Would it be all right if you showed me one sometime?" So I did. She stood in a borrowed bee suit, looking into a hive for the first time. Thousands of bees moving together with perfect purpose. She was completely silent. Afterwards she said, "I can't believe I wanted these gone." This year I harvested more honey than ever before. My fruit trees bent under the weight of apples. The raspberries were ridiculous. Linda's roses won a prize at the local garden show. Every now and then she still laughs about the bees eating the flowers. And then she'll catch herself, smile, and correct the story. It wasn't the bees, it never was.